right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Hunter Willis, and today with FinOps Fridays, we've got Swapna Samuel on the line, and she is the actually, what's your formal title? He's head of cloud FinOps operations for BMO, right?
That is correct, Hunter.
All right, great. So tell us a little about your role and what that means, and then we will dive into the conversation. Swapna, again, thanks for joining us today too.
Welcome. Glad to be here, Hunter. As the title indicates, I have the privilege of leading the FinOps practice here at BMO. We have this amazing FinOps team here, which is a mix of both finance and tech, so that we are able to bridge gaps between both the worlds and really bring out the meat and the value of FinOps across BMO.
That's great. Okay, and that's across the whole agency, right? The whole organization.
Yeah, correct. So predominantly right now, our main focus is TNO, so technology and operations. But again, we work with the cloud engineering to see everything at an end to end, but baby steps as we go.
Okay. Now, the things that we've been talking about are like chargeback and communication and some of the kind of assumed principles of these things. But when the rubber meets the road, right, a lot of the things that you can apply conceptually to other operational aspects and like technical aspects, they don't they don't apply when you're talking with people and trying to communicate and reach goals with other people when it comes to FinOps because people are machines, right? So what are some of the things that you have really experienced in your role, like spinning up? I know that BMO has been kind of rolling into FinOps over the past couple of years here, and you've been a huge part, if not the primary part of that initiative. So, talk to us about some of the things you've learned and the challenges you've overcome when it comes to, you know, how important context and communication is to that rollout into FinOps.
For sure, for sure. And so where we are have been with BMO as well is we honestly started like FinOps as a dedicated practice with a little pilot. And then we saw its value and decided that yes, indeed, it is definitely worth setting up a dedicated team, having FinOps as a focus. And one of the things we really quickly learned is the need to have an apples to apples communication. So almost like having a lexicon established for FinOps within the org. Because whether we like it or not, every organization has their own set of jargons and no shortage of abbreviations that keep going. And also making sure that between the various personas, that we're able to translate that information accordingly, right? So whether we're talking with the engineers or talking with our finance folks, how do we actually transform data to information across personas, making sure it doesn't lose its meaning in the process? I think that was almost rudimentary for us to establish. And once we got that running, everything else seemed just to fit into place and flow and really click very well. But that definitely was the first starting point of establishing that foundation.
Can you talk about how you established that foundation? Was it like, hey, we're going to get buy-in on the terms and definitions, and we're going to have a glossary for that for the organization, or was it more organic than that?
A little more organic. So what we did is we found out a few stakeholders from different groups who we know were eager beavers, eager participants willing to give us their time. And rather than wait for like total consensus and take 3 months or 6 months to do this, we started spinning up meetings within a couple of days and saying, hey, here's what it is. Do you understand what we are saying? And we always took like beginner users or people who are brand new to this, right? Because if they couldn't understand what we're saying, we're not doing a good job, right? And so that was very key. So we spun up meeting, with the engineers. So whether it was platforms or services or finance experts or our execs, we managed to establish like great key stakeholders who are willing to do it. And so rapid iterations. And that's what I'd always say. We're never going to get it perfect right, but with rapid iterations, continuously evolving it, we were able to get to where we wanted to. And so if you look and see like some of our content that we have is we'll say, hey, like this is what a purchase plan means like. It kind of is like getting a gym membership for a year when honestly you don't really need it and you go to the gym only once a week. You know, trying to call out good examples which people can take day to day, but yet also not, what do you say, liquidating the value and the term of it, right? So we gave it with its true worth and meaning, but yet made it relatable so that whichever angle you're coming from, it makes sense to you. And then you can deep dive into the level of depth that's comfortable for you. So that really helped.
Now, is there any connection between that and like your more distributive taxonomy that you're using to like communicate with like stakeholders and then the different segments of the organization that, you know, your chargeback goes out to and things like that? Or is this solely we're just talking about collaboration principles for communication right now and that's like totally separate? Do they link together at all? And then do you coordinate that in any way?
Yes, so they are linked because the reason for that is we need to make sure we maintain consistency in how we communicate across anything, whether it's us presenting to a specific persona group or any of the materials that we do send out. So there has to be consistency in it. It's kind of like, I don't know if you're familiar with this. So there's a famous management guru who said efficiency is doing things right and effectiveness is doing the right thing. And sometimes it's easy to do something really, really well, but not necessarily the right thing, or to do the right thing, but not be able to do it really well. And so, one of the things we learned early on is to have that good balance to do it efficiently. So, do the right things, but also do it well. And so, keeping that as our goal and having that target constantly in front of us has been a good reminder, whether it's something as simple as getting our internal comms out or delving into reporting and visualizations or designing our chargeback process. Having that as our target has really helped us.
That is fantastic. So can we walk into the weeds a little bit and talk about like then so we've talked about the communication, establishing a baseline, and then aligning that with what's going on in the technical side of things. Can you walk us into the weeds a little bit with that, like the tagging process and what that looks like, and then tie that to maybe your chargeback and allocation if it's directly linked, and what that you know what I'm saying? Like walk us through what that looks like and how you set that up.
Sure, sure. So the timing process, more or less, we have it pretty much nailed down. So that in itself wasn't a key challenge for us. Not that it's perfect. You know, there's
Sure.
always like context stuff that we work and how we deal with that and all of that good stuff as every
Just for our
good practice.
listeners, can you describe what that is too? Can you summarize what that is really quick, just for the people
Sure,
on the line, right?
sure. So we kept it really simple. We have one really key mandatory tag, right? So for simplification's sake, and that is our primary for identifying which resource it belongs to, who it belongs to, and so forth. And then we have our internal models of how we handle our untagged costs, but as well as how we handle shared costs, as well as applications where resources are split within it. Because as everyone knows, depending upon how in depth you are into some of your applications, there are just some AWS resources that just can't be split against multiple resources, right? But not giving too much away, I would say if you'd like to know a little more detail on those, do join us at FinOps X, where I and Natasha, she who's our senior FinOps financial manager, will actually be speaking in great detail on chargeback allocation models and how we really deal with, you know, the ones that are direct are always easy, but how do we deal with the ones that we know here's an application but it's being shared, and here's one that I know I can't divide it. What do I do? And how do I optimize in those cases, right? Who owns that accountability? So definitely we're going to be talking a lot about that. We will be showcasing our internal framework as well for guiding principles. So if you are or haven't decided yet, please do come to the FinOps X in San Diego. Would love to meet up with you guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. So definitely check that out. Check out the session online too. They post a lot of them afterwards if you register and everything like that. If you can't make it out too. And also I would say there is, I mean, before we move further into the tagging and everything, since we've already called out the FinOps Foundation, FinOps X, there's also information at finops.org for that information as well. So check that out too. So, um, the we talked about, so you've described your tagging process to a certain extent. The a specific question, if you will indulge me, that I want to ask is like, you said there's one primary tag that you've asked engineers
Mm.
to, and clearly the values are structured in such a way that you can extract an enormous amount of information out of that one tag. Is there, what would you say is like the minimum requirement for the number of tags that you have on there? So there's a one major tag, and then would you say like how many supporting tags before you say, okay, you're good to go for those engineers?
So we have four supporting tags that are there, but for now, what we've done is that one primary tag in turn feeds to a lot of metadata that actually has information that we need to help us uh, delve into further details of splitting and dicing and so forth. But that one primary tag is our key. Now, again, needless to say that that'll continue to change as we go into it. So, again, we want to make sure that we don't overcomplicate our processes. But going forward for the rest of the year, we are looking to expand it to two mandatory tags at the most, but
Okay.
really getting efficient and effective in it to try and get the right data. But
That
yeah, we can
is
talk. Definitely looking
That's
to talk more.
awesome. No, no, that's fantastic. I want to call out that there are principles of collaboration out there. There's different
Yeah.
collaboration frameworks that talk about communication, and a lot of it has to do with taxonomy and labeling information so that you can collaborate around it effectively,
Mhm.
right? And definitely one of the biggest rules is as few labels, as little metadata as you can, but being able to extract as much information out of that man. So two is a fantastic number. They say the general rule of thumb from my years of experience doing migrations and data management, records management, and all these different things, they're all like, if you go more than three, you've just lost everyone. So
Agree.
knowing that you guys designed it around just two is just, that's just awesome. So I'm really I don't know why I'm so excited about that, but it really is great. So anyway, that's
Yeah.
fantastic. All right, so let's crawl back out of the weeds from that and talk to me about some of the communication around, deploying that, as well as like your chargeback and how you got everybody on the
Mhm.
same page with your FinOps practice as it was coming up. And yeah, I'd love to hear more about that and how that went
Yeah,
down.
for sure. For sure, for sure. And one of the terms that I love to use is contextualized reporting. So if you say, hey, what do you mean by that? So let me give you an example, right? Uh, a lot of people will come and say the distance between 2 points, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. And if someone accepts it for what it is, that's actually not a good idea because the main question is, well, what's the object you're trying to measure? Because that statement is only true if it's a plane. If it's a spear, it's not. For any of you golf fans out there who love playing golf, if I were to tell you my golf club distance is 113 yards, you probably might write me off as like, okay, beginner, that sounds okay. But if I gave you the context of saying that it's 113 yards using a lob wedge, you'll realize that, oh, that's PGA's tour standards. That's even greater than advanced. But again, that's not my stats, just an example. But context is very important in our reporting. And so, how we manage to bridge the gap early is knowing that there's no point me telling someone saying, hey, here's your 0.25 utilization stats on this and so forth, and then take it up to your finance folks or your business managers and say do something about it. It is truly understanding that there's data and then there's information and there's context around that information.
All right, I'm going to sidestep our conversation just a little bit, move over, because one of the most common questions, not only for FinOps, but also in this entire industry for anything that we always get, is resistance to buy-in and how you overcame it, right? So clearly, You didn't just flip a switch and start communicating, and everybody was like, "Yeah, we have to have this. Fantastic. Thanks for solving all these problems for us," right? There was obviously some obstacles towards, getting people bought in on these processes and understanding that they now owned,
Mhm.
spend in the cloud from their perspective. Can you talk a little about overcoming those kinds of obstacles within the organization?
Fair. I think at the end it does boil down to marketing strategy, right? uh, you have to make people want it. Now, again, it's not that people don't want to bring value. It's the fact that everyone is doing a lot of high priority items as part of their jobs. And so they have their focus and the heads are, deep down into whatever roles they already have. And so throwing another 100-page document saying you also need to do this is not going to make it um, any easier for them or for us, right?
Yeah.
The
Hey,
question
another
is
task that you have to take on.
exactly, and you
Right.
have to do these 15 other things, right?
Right.
That's not what it is. If you've seen like some of the marketing strategies that they have, they'll say, "Oh, here's a pair of sneakers that you don't even have to tie your shoelace. Just kick your foot in, right? Like that's about it. Uh, like or the Roomba. If you guys like it, you don't even have to go and vacuum. Just schedule it and it's done for you. Come downstairs and it's all clean, right? And I think being cognizant of it to see how can we minimize additional effort and maximize value. And so what we did is, as we started off our practice, we basically ensured that we looked at first at the heavy bleeders within the organization, right? And look to try and stop the bleeding there and bring that value up front. Yeah, and so saying that, you don't have to figure this out on your own. We're here to help facilitate with it, and we'll help bring the groups together, right? It's not going to be, you know, um, a really bad game of ping pong where, you have to hit it here and then it goes somewhere else, and we say, "Oh, we're not going to go pick up the ball. You go get it." And then someone says, "Oh, I'm not coming back to play." Then you need to find someone else to go. So we're not playing that, but we're saying we are here with you in the journey to make sure you see it end to end. We'll help bring the different pieces of the right people there to help you get to where you need to be. And I think that has been important. One, showcasing the value of what it is to get people excited about it. And then helping be part of the journey that bridges gaps in the process, because let's be real, right? No one has every process nailed down. There are always processes that have to be improved. But one thing for sure is everyone wants to do the right thing. Everyone wants to make sure that they're architecting well, that they are not wasting money. Everyone wants to do that. And so recognizing that and respecting that, I think, is very key, because then what happens is we really help to facilitate that collaboration, which is important.
This has been fantastic. I've loved hearing about the culture and everything that you've been talking about that's established in your organization at BMO there. But Swapna, there's one piece of advice you forgot. You gotta go see Swapna at FinOps X 2024
Mm.
San Diego. And if you're listening to this after FinOps X 2024, go out, check and see if you can find that session or other speaking sessions that she has done online. Everybody, thanks for listening again today. Again, my name is Hunter Willis with Swapna Samuel here on FinOps Fridays. Stay tuned for a little bit more that we've got going on the podcast here in just a moment. But thanks again for listening today. And Swapna, thank you so much for your time and coming on here today. And thank you so much for this amazing conversation. I really appreciate you. You can take a second and say what you want to sign off.
No, no. Thank you, Hunter. And thank you, everyone, for listening. And one quick tip, when you're looking at your return on investments, please make sure you always check what your driver is. Because if your driver is innovation, then what you're measuring against is different. If your driver is cost saving, what you're measuring against is different. If your driver is security and resilience, then the measures, what you're looking at, is different. So, context and everything will take us all a really long way.
Awesome.
Thank you, Hunter. Appreciate it.
Absolutely true. Sure thing. All right. Take care.
Okay.